Hello and welcome to Book Lovers Companion, the podcast about books, authors, their craft and more. I'm your host Edith, and joining me for this episode is returning guest and fiction and non-fiction author, dog and duck mom, Emma Woodhouse. Emma, hello and welcome back on the show.
Hello, and thanks for having me back.
It's absolutely lovely to have you back, and thank you for agreeing to doing this. I was most intrigued when I read, it was Facebook or I don't know what it was, that new books are coming out from you.
I'm like a weird book factory. They just keep on coming, yeah.
Yes, you're a busy bee. And let me ask you one quick question, because I'm wondering this before we dive into the books. You said you are a dog and duck mom.
Yes.
We have got 3 cats, and I'm very aware of the fact that we are servants to our furry overlords. How is that with dogs and ducks?
Well, the dogs and the ducks have to be kept separate because the dogs would probably eat the ducks. So it's very interesting. It's very time-consuming. But I am the sort of dog and duck mom who sings to them, tells them little stories. I do their voices, but I can have a whole conversation with each of them. The neighbours all are probably used to it by now. Luckily, there's a lady who talks a lot to her cats across the road, so they get it from both sides of the road. I'm very enthusiastic when it comes to my feathery and furry children.
Yes, I get that, but still, I'm still servant. Yeah,
Yes.
So if you have a cat, you realize you're just a servant.
Oh, they are the absolute overlords. The cats are, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They are. They rule the house with an iron paw.
Yeah,
that's how it is. Anyway, but it's lovely. How many ducks have you got?
So we've got 3 ducks, but they're all boys, and it's mating season. We're coming to the end of mating season, but they get so full of hormones, they all want to fight all the time. So it's been very complicated, and it's been our first year of duck ownership. So we've had a lot to learn, but we're coming to the end of the hormonal stretch now, so they should all calm down and be best of friends again soon. So that will be nice.
Good for you. And I have seen on your social media posts, you have been busy again for your books. You've been on some research tour.
Yeah.
But goodness, woman, you are so busy. It's incredible. Because 2 books are coming out in autumn.
Yes.
One, a fiction book called Anne Morgan, Hellish Beauty, which will be out in September.
That's right.
Yeah. And a non-fiction book called, with the title Criminal Women of Victorian London, which will be out in November.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, let's dive right in, I'd say. And what can you tell our listeners about your fiction book about Anne Morgan? What is it? What is it all about?
So I'm very into uncovering forgotten or slightly overlooked histories of working class Victorian women. And Anne Morgan was a woman who lived about a sort of 10-minute drive from my house. Back in the Victorian era, and she was murdered in 1857, and she practiced as a witch. And when I first heard her story and sort of read a little bit about her, there's little sort of odd snippets about her on the internet, but not very much at all. And initially I thought, a prolific belief in witchcraft, a woman earning her living as a witch back in 1857, that's too late. You think of witchcraft being the 1600s, where all the sort of awful persecution occurred and witchcraft trials. And actually, the more that you look into it, witchcraft belief was still prolific certainly across Britain and other areas as well in the Victorian era. And this woman made her living as a witch, and she had a much younger lover. He was about half her age, and he murdered her in 1857. And I just had this urge to kind of find out more about their story. I do research a lot when I'm writing my novels, probably as much as, if not in a different way, maybe, as much as my nonfiction. So, I desperately wanted to sort of tell her story and to tell it in a very full way. And she had a fantastically interesting life. I mean, when she was younger, she was arrested for theft. and the friend that was arrested with her ended up being transported, whereas she got off. And then she ran away with a travelling family, and sort of learned how to do fortune telling and all those sort of things to sort of make money on the road. And when her father died, she came back, took over his house, and set herself up as the local witch. And this was in a little town called Much Wenlock, which is, like I said, just down the road from where I live. And it's just a fantastic history. And when she died, when she her body was moved from the house, people were so superstitious they wouldn't take her shoes off. They didn't lay her out properly because they thought if they touched the body of this witch that they would be cursed. And the local mayor had all of her papers and books and letters and things burned publicly in the backyard of an inn that was in the middle of the town. For a number of reasons, partly because he wanted to say, well, witchcraft will not be tolerated around here, but also it destroyed a lot of evidence. So a lot of letters from people asking for her help just went up in flames. And as part of the book, I sort of wanted to explore what sort of things people were asking her for. Now, luckily, we've got newspapers from the time, and there were a few articles that kind of hinted at what might have been in them. So people were asking her for fake references, first of all, for jobs, but they were also asking her the same things that drive humans now: love potions, revenge, those kind of things that kind of, the very basics of sort of human, I suppose, kind of urges and kind of jealousies and all that kind of stuff. So as part of the book, I've written some letters that were the sorts of things that might have ended up going up in smoke, and sort of interspersed those between chapters towards the end, just to sort of, give us a feeling of what we were missing, what evidence we were missing from that. So it was an absolute joy to write. And I've met some other women, a few other women who were quite obsessed with her story as well. So there's a lady who's opened a shop called the Wenlock Witch in Much Wenlock because she was just utterly sort of caught up in this woman's history. I've met a lady who's very into folklore, and she's really driven by this story. So there are other people who know about her. My last fictional novel was about, again, another real person, but nobody had remembered her. There are a few people that remember this lady, but I just think her history was so fascinating and so wonderful that more people need to know about it. So she became my next sort of obsession, really.
So many interesting points in what you just said. First of all, how did you come across her? So you said she's a bit obscure. Nobody really knows much about her. There are bits and bobs about her on the internet.
Yeah.
How did you find her?
So I think years ago, probably about 6 years ago, I saw a photograph just on a Facebook post. I follow a lot of sort of local history pages on Facebook. And I think one of the local history pages had put a photograph, a very old black and white photograph of a location, and sort of done a little bit of a write-up about her story, probably just a little tiny bit like this. And I remember, I don't remember the photograph particularly well, but I just remember thinking 1857 was too late for that. What on earth are they talking about? A belief in witchcraft? And I sort of just held it in my head for a long time. And then I got obsessed with a couple of other ladies that I've now got books out about. And I knew that this Anne Morgan had to be next, and she was on my list, basically. I do have a list of ladies in my head that I need to write about. So Anne Morgan was on my list, and then I sort of started researching her. And that initial thought about witchcraft being, 1857 being too late, that's actually driven me. I've got another book coming out in April next year, which is a non-fiction book about witches and witchcraft in Victorian Britain. And the whole history of Anne Morgan sort of spurred me into wanting to find out more about a belief in witchcraft in those sort of more modern times, really, than you'd expect. And so it was prolific. It was absolutely prolific, and people still absolutely believed in it, and people still absolutely, many places had their local witch that people still went to in the 1800s, going into the early 1900s as well, probably. And so, yeah, these ladies just sit in my head until it's the right time for them to come out. And she kind of sat there for a bit, and then I thought, she's coming out. It's happening. So
absolutely understandable. And how long did the research take you? Since you said it was hard and there was not much to find, or how hard did you have to dig to find at least a bit about her?
without the British newspaper archives, there'd be very little, really. There was a local lady who lived in the old sort of Wenlock Priory house, which is a huge building that the sort of monks used to live in, next to where the ruined abbey is now in Much Wenlock. And in the late 1800s and early 1900s, this lady collected lots of folklore, and she sort of talked with a lot of local people. So she's actually written a little bit about her, which is lovely, because I've got copies of her books and things. There was another folklorist who from the Victorian era again, who collected some information about her, and then other than that, a lot of it is in the newspapers. So luckily when she was murdered is a horrible thing to say, isn't it? But not lucky that she was murdered. It's absolutely heartbreaking that she was murdered, but the newspapers grabbed it. And the newspapers wrote about it and sort of wrote down that the British newspapers, I don't know what the newspapers are like sort of in Vienna, but over here, the Victorian newspapers were fantastic at going in and virtually writing down everything that was said in the trials. And you can look back and you can get them and just sort of read them over, and they're fantastic. So thankfully we've got that newspaper evidence, because so much of her stuff was burned. And I do think that's a tragedy, because when I researched other witches that have been around in Victorian Britain, some of them, their sort of letters and their books and whatever were left to their child, and then and they wanted them to remember, and things like mayors didn't step in and get everything burnt and destroy all the evidence like they did around here. But so I was very lucky that we got the newspapers. And sort of little misconceptions had arisen as well about the history of what happened next. So there was this fantastic legend that the man who murdered her, his name was William Davis, and he was sentenced to hang. But he was respited at the last minute, sort of thing. And there was a sort of general belief that he had been transported, that he'd, not going to hang, but you're getting transported. And I searched and searched and searched, couldn't find any transportation records for him at all. And then found the prison records that actually he wasn't transported at all. But he ended up just serving his life sentence in the local prison. But there was this fantastic legend that he was transported, and then in her ultimate act of revenge, the ship sank that he was on. And I thought that was such an amazingly sort of, that was her revenge. And I loved that as a sort of rounding up. And when I write about real people, I try and be as realistic as possible. But that was such a delicious sort of revenge legend. And because she earned her living as a witch, I do start and end the story with the sinking of the transportation ship. But then in the end, at the back of the book, I do fess up and say, actually, that was a legend. And this is what really happened, because I can't kind of mislead people. I can't do that. But it was just such a juicy and wonderful legend that I thought, yes, that's got to be in the book, because that would have been an amazing sort of way for her to get her revenge, sort of. So yeah, it was a very exciting kind of history to write, and sort of having to create the parts. So when she ran away with the travelling folk that she kind of lived with for years, there's no records of what happened there. I'd got to sort of make that up, and so I borrowed ideas from the lady that wrote about her, Lady Catherine Milnes Gaskell, who lived in the Priory ruins by the Abbey. She'd written a novel about a gypsy girl called Shuri, and her mother was called Bridget, and it's a lovely kind of fairly dated story now. But I borrowed little bits from that and sort of tried to interweave it into the story, so that we'd got that link between this woman who in the sort of late 1800s was obsessed with Anne Morgan, and now I'm obsessed with Anne Morgan, and I'm writing about her, and this lady wrote books, and I write. But it was sort of kind of interweaving it all together. And another lovely thing about that lady was that she had some close friendships with some quite prolific British writers. So Thomas Hardy was one of her personal friends. So he's in the book as well. So it was almost like putting together this jigsaw, and then a lot of the pieces I did end up having some great research that I could slot in, and then other bits I've just got to sort of ethically tell the story in a way that sort of would be fairly realistic for the time. So I'm very excited about that one coming out.
I can tell, absolutely. I'm looking forward to reading it. But it does not have a dual timeline, does it? It does?
Yes.
Yeah, it does. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a sort of, it's got 3 timelines really.
Okay.
So it's got Lady Catherine Milnes Gaskell, who was obsessed with her. All of the book, apart from right at the end, that has her in it, it's over the span of one evening where she's got Thomas Hardy and some other friends round, and they're celebrating her new book being published. And in that book, there is a part about Anne Morgan, and she's introducing them to the story of the witch. And there's a storm, and it all gets very atmospheric, and they have some entertainment booked, which is a fortune teller, and so that her bit sort of spans that and introduces the story of Anne Morgan throughout the book. Then we also have the timeline of William Davis after he'd killed her, and he went on the run, and he was running through the fields, and he went and hid, and there was a bit of a manhunt for him, and then he had his trials. And then we've got the final timeline, which is Anne Morgan's timeline, which is the story of her life. So it sort of interweaves all of those sort of elements, which I quite like doing. I do tend to write a bit like that, where I want the reader to take what they need at the point of the story that they need it. Yeah.
Artistic license a little bit is important when you write such a book. And does it make it easier then for the artistic license when you have not so much information on a character you choose?
I find it really hard. Well, I like to tell the history. For me, the history is a massive driver. So when there are gaps in the history, I get quite anxious about doing it right. And I spend a lot of time thinking, is this ethically right for this character?
Okay.
And so I do try to make it as realistic as possible. But obviously there's only so far I can go. I wasn't there. I've never sort of been a traveller. I've never kind of lived that lifestyle. So I have to do a lot of research and pull in bits from other places and try to sort of fit it together. So where some people might create something really sort of, I try and cling to as many facts as possible, still to make it as historically accurate and as right for that person as possible. As I get very attached to I call them my ladies. Get very attached to my ladies, and I always in the back of my mind, I think, how would I feel if I was dead? I wouldn't be feeling anything very much, I'm sure. But if somebody was writing about me, how would I want them to deal with me?
Yeah.
And that's how I think about it when I'm sort of writing about my ladies. So
yeah. Understand. I can understand it. Yeah. I mean, it's a bit like with fictional characters. You care for them. And these were real people. I suppose you care even a bit more for them.
Yeah, I spend not a lot of time, but I find where they're buried. I always find my ladies where they're buried. Yesterday, a new lady that I'm writing about. I travelled for a number of hours to go and try to find her grave and give, put some flowers on her grave, and sort of. So these they do become part of your life, and because you live that world that they're in if you're writing about them.
Yeah.
You almost sort of live that. You feel like you've lived their life with them, even though you haven't.
Yeah.
And so you get this meaningful relationship with them, really, that they could never have known about. They just think I was an absolute stalker, I'm sure. If they're watching, they probably think, who is this woman? Leave us alone.
May I ask, Anne Morgan, you said, I mean, she sounds like an absolutely fascinating person. And how old was she when she died, when she was murdered, when she was killed?
So she was in her 60s.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that means you said her lover was half age, so that makes him in his 30s.
About 35 he was, yeah. She was late
Okay.
60s, he was 35.
And how was this perceived by the people? Did you get any idea how people perceived him?
It's hard to say. I think some people thought he was after her because she did have a little bit of money. She owned a couple of
Oh,
fields. She got a little bit of money in the bank.
okay.
She got a house. And I think he had intimated that when she died, he would end up with whatever she had.
Ah,
Um, but he made out that he was utterly bewitched by her, that he was petrified of her because she could
hmm,
speak in tongues and she could, bewitch him, and he was unable to leave her. He tried to leave her, he was unable to leave her because she'd put these spells on him. And there was also, during his trials, the sort of train of thought that he was, as they put it back then, a little bit simple-minded, so that maybe he wasn't quite as sort of with it as other people might have sort of perceived him to be.
okay.
So maybe he was frightened of her, maybe he did find her quite sort of intimidating, but maybe he also then went out and boasted that when she died, everything she had would be his because he yeah. I think there's probably elements of all sorts sort of all mixed
Hmm,
together in there that kind of made him who he was. But yeah, so there's a little bit of evidence about what he was like, but nothing ultimately definitive, just snippets that we can take from different newspaper reports largely.
okay. And as I said, how did people see this relationship?
Mm.
Was there any mention of it in the trial records that people thought it is strange or frowned upon?
Yeah, I think people didn't quite understand it.
Okay.
Um, because I think that he was quite an able-bodied young chap. I think she was getting older, more
Mm,
frail.
mm,
She was sending him off into town to go and do sort of chores for her. He was spending her money in the pubs and then coming home a little bit worse for wear. And then there were lots of arguments, and the neighbours did hear them having
mm,
some quite blazing arguments. And they did say that she used quite foul language towards him during these arguments. But if he'd been off spending her money in the pubs, I can understand why she might be a little bit miffed. Um, so yeah, it was quite a strange relationship, but it did mean that he'd got himself to a comfortable home that actually was there laid out for him. And in those times, he could have ended up with no home. He could have ended up in the workhouse. He could have ended up
mm.
on the streets. A lot of people sort of struggle to survive, and he'd
Yeah.
got this sort of very comfortable, ready-made home for him, and a lady who had enough money to keep him sort of going. And did he have to work? There's no evidence that he did much of a job once he sort of moved in with her, that they were fairly self-sufficient, I suppose,
Okay.
on whatever money she got in the bank. So, I think he'd got himself a comfortable little number there staying with her.
Mm.
So,
Sounds as if, yeah, absolutely.
mm,
And you do not have to give it away, of course, but does the record reveal the reasons why he murdered her? I mean, it was implied that he was afraid of her, maybe, maybe not, but you don't have
yeah.
to tell us because. But did it sort of come out? Why the reason why?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's all in there really. And obviously, with any trial of this nature, you've got um, he's going to try and stick up for himself, and his
Mm,
defense is going to try to say things
mm,
that sort of make him out to be less guilty,
yeah.
or to try to turn it into a manslaughter case rather than a murder case and things like that. So you do have that going on as well. But yeah, we find out all the nitty gritty of that. I was very lucky that the newspapers were very
Mm,
able to kind of give me lots of detail on that.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and I don't spare the detail. I'm happy to be
okay.
gory if I need to to be, but not in a sort of, not in a celebration of gore way, but in a just a,
When
this is
it's
what it was.
necessary. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I get that. And you said there was this legend of him getting sent to Australia, I suppose,
Mhm.
as when
Yeah.
we talk about being sent away, and he wasn't really. And did do you know what happened to him really in the end, or did his trail get
Mhm.
lost completely?
So he ended up with a life sentence in Shrewsbury Prison,
Okay.
which is the sort of larger town, about sort of 20 minutes down the road from
Mm,
here. And yeah, he eked out his days in there, as far as I can tell.
Okay.
So yeah.
I mean, it's not. I mean, he didn't sink with the ship. It's not as poetic the ending, but still, he
Yeah.
didn't get free. But he
No.
spent the rest of his life in prison. Yeah. Okay.
As far as I can tell, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating. Can't wait to get my hands on this book. Again, my list is my the list is growing and growing, but it's not. Yeah, can't be helped. If it's history,
It's your job. Yeah,
yes.
you
I mean,
keep talking to authors, you're going to want all the books.
yes, absolutely. I do want, and I'm also listening to a history podcast, which is even worse because then I order the books and have to read them as well. You know.
Yes. Yeah.
Because one has to.
Yeah.
Which brings me to your next book, which will be out in November, The Criminal Women of Victorian London. Tell us more about those criminal women of London, please.
They were fantastic. So I wrote this book after my very first nonfiction book is called London's Most Notorious Female Gang Leader, and it was all about the life of Mary Carr, who I'd got obsessed with a while ago. I do get obsessed, obviously, as we are learning. And I'd written a novel about her, become obsessed with her, written a nonfiction book about her. And once I'd written that nonfiction book, I loved writing it. I enjoyed it so much. And what I really wanted to do was to explore other criminal women in Victorian London. It's always Victorian based, everything I write. But I wanted to find out more about women misbehaving, essentially. Women who, my great love is women who stuck it to the man, who didn't want to do what they were supposed to do. They were looking at different ways to live that didn't involve going to work in a match factory and having chemicals melting off their face. You know, they wanted a life that they couldn't afford. They wanted a lifestyle that they couldn't afford, and they found other ways to do it. And so I decided I really wanted to write this book, and I pitched it to my nonfiction publisher, and they said yes. And so I just had this wonderful time finding different. First of all, I looked at different types of crime. So I've got a section on theft. I've got a section on smuggling. I've got a section on. There's a section on murder. There's sections on various things. And then a lot of the evidence came from, firstly, the British Newspaper Archives, which I talk about a lot. It's an absolute wonderful kind of resource. But what I like to do once I found someone to write about is I then use birth, marriage and death certificates and census records and things to kind of get a big backstory into each of them as well. Because I want to kind of understand their motives as well. I don't just want it to be about, this was the crime, that's it. I want to find out a little bit about them as well, as much as possible. And so just some amazing characters that sort of came up. One in particular sticks in my mind. She called herself Mog the Fireman. And Mog the Fireman called herself Mog the Fireman because she once got very drunk and got up on the roof of a fire station and sort of shouted things at people from the top of the. And she was a big strapping woman as well, and she was perfectly capable of giving someone a fireman's lift and all the rest of it. And she wanted to be known as Mog the Fireman ever after. So whenever she was arrested, she insisted that the police called her Mog the Fireman. And just these personalities that were just, I love that. The sort of Victorian era is often put across as very staid, very prim and proper. And these women were just going out and sort of being just as naughty as women can be today, if not more so. And sometimes they committed crimes because they were just trying to survive and it was, they needed money. And then other times they were committing crimes just because they had no respect for anybody. And maybe they wanted some, maybe they didn't need money, but this time round, but they wanted money. And so, and until you get to the murder part, which obviously some of the murders were not committed for money, some of them were crimes of passion or whatever. And it just really sort of points out that how we're all still the same today. The things that drove us then are the things that drive us now. We need some money, or we're jealous of somebody, or we're whatever. And it just sort of, for me, it really unpicks that Victorian era and that sort of generalizations that people have made about Victorian history being a bit dull. It's absolutely not. It's joyous and rampant and hilarious and also very frightening and also very sort of, you've got to have a lot of empathy for some of these women as well. So yeah, it was just an absolute gem to write. I absolutely adored writing that book.
And how many characters have you in this book? Or women, because it's nonfiction, we cannot say characters, but how many women have you covered in this book?
Oh gosh, I haven't actually counted them, but I would say there's a good probably 30 or 40, probably. And from all points of the Victorian era all the way through. Yeah. Just astounding histories and from that book, I found a female serial killer that nobody appears to know much about or have written about. So, once my Witches and Witchcraft in Victorian Britain comes out in April 2027, my next nonfiction after that will be about her.
So the female version of Jack the Ripper?
Sort of, yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Interesting.
Took a while for them to catch her, let's put it that way. Took a while for them to put two and two together and realise that she was to blame for these deaths.
That it was a she after all, probably, in the first place?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't, unlike Jack the Ripper, who they were sort of random.
Okay.
They seem random, don't they, his killing. Whether they were or not is something we'll never know. But hers were ex-lovers or people she knew, or so there was always her as a link in the chain somewhere, but it took a long time for people to think, hold on a minute. Yeah.
Okay. And you said, I mean, the Victorians appear, at least on the surface, I'd say prim and proper, but if you didn't follow the social code, what kind of job could you do as a woman to survive on the streets in Victorian England or Victorian Britain?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was pickpocketing. There was a lot of female criminals, a lot of female pickpocketers. They did a lot of sort of fencing, so they took in stolen goods and tried to pass them off for people. There were women who would obviously sell themselves on the streets. There's a lot of that. One of the cases in my book was about a woman who had a number of houses set up in different parts of London, and she was actually protected by the police because of the highbrow nature of the men that used to come to her buildings and partake of the offerings that were within, shall we say. Royalty from abroad, let's just say. So she was protected by the police, and she was happy to state it as well. She'd stated it in to other policemen that, don't you know who I am? This won't come to anything, sort of thing, a bit like that. And yeah, there were women. There are huge and well-known cases of women that took babies and said they would look after them, farmers. And that sort of thing went on quite a lot as well. So, a lot of the sort of things that women would do to survive, they were going to be outside of the law because it was such a dreary existence for anybody who stayed within the law. And those ladies that were pickpocketing and making money from that, actually, you sort of read up on their lives and they were just enjoying life. They were getting one over on people, generally people who could afford to be pickpocketed, maybe. And, because you wouldn't pickpocket from a poor person, would you? That would just be daft. So, pickpocket from a chap who's got a massive house and, whatever going on for him anyway. And, then they sort of go out and have a bit of an ease up afterwards at the pub, go down the music halls, spend a bit of the cash and then go out and pickpocket again the next day, sort of thing. And, they were just refusing to sort of take what society had sort of slopped on their plate. And, so it was just a fantastic opportunity, really, to dive into that side of London history. And I know a lot of people have written about London history, but because mine it's Victorian and it's women, and it's very kind of, this is what it is, and the different sections have the different types of crime, and this is what happened, and so it's sort of London as almost like a microcosm of Britain, I suppose, because the crimes that were going on in London were going on elsewhere as well.
Yeah.
London wasn't an anomaly. It was just the epicenter, if you like. It was
Yeah.
where it was more concentrated.
Maybe even a focus point for the whole empire then, because the whole empire at one point more or less landed in London.
Absolutely, yeah.
And would you say that, since you mentioned Mary Carr, would you say there were also sort of female criminal masterminds, or at least women who, as the brothel madam you just mentioned, who had not only as in their illegal endeavor success, but also as in an a huge economic success, because you have to be economically successful to own more than one house and provide those services, or stay afloat and deal with the police.
Yes, I mean, I think the lady that I mentioned who was sort of protected by the police, I think she was different to other brothel housekeepers, but there were a lot of them, and a lot of them did own more than one place. There's a lady who Mary Carr knew very well, who was known as Annie Irish, or Annie Hart, and her husband Isaac Hart, they owned a few brothels. But that, when I say owned, I don't think they owned the building. They would rent the building and then use it for brothels. And they were quite notorious at the time. In the 1890s, they were pretty notorious. And another lady that just lived around the corner from them, Elizabeth Darcy, she had a property that she ran as a brothel, and she was quite a feared figure. She was very violent, quite a feared figure of the sort of Southwark streets. So there's just so many interesting pieces of history, and so many interwoven pieces of history as well in there. I think for a female to be massively successful was quite rare. There's a lot that has been written about Mary Carr, about her being, sort of this boss of a huge criminal empire. My studies have shown that she wasn't as prolifically sort of, a lot of people want her to be a Tommy Shelby, Peaky Blinders kind of gang boss, and she was more like the sort of fairly successful at blackmailing people, fairly successful at fencing for other people, possibly let her house be used as a brothel. I think she was less of a huge kind of gang leader than people have come to think, because of A Thousand Blows. They sort of in people's heads, they think that she was some sort of international, doing dealings with Chinese diplomats and things about sort of goods and things like that. But actually, there's no evidence that she dealt with weapons, so pistols and things. I mean, the only evidence we've got of her ever being near a pistol is when she was arrested, and in the flat that didn't belong to her, that she was in because she was having tea with a lady, there was a stolen pistol in that flat, but she wasn't using it. It wasn't hers. It wasn't anywhere near her. So, there's sort of people's idea about sort of gangs back then, and the sort of dealings that went on, I think are a little bit sort of skewed by the modern media, shall we say. But I mean, for the time, I mean, she was impressive, and Annie Hart was impressive, and Elizabeth Darcy was just notorious. And these brothel house keepers that couldn't be touched, they were just above the law. And how do you get to that point? How do you work your way up to that point? Is just it's quite it's just fascinating history.
Absolutely. And those brothel owners, those madams, I suppose at one point do not have to offer themselves anymore.
Yes, it's very probable that they did start out that way and then sort of work their way up. Yeah.
But it does take a lot of scheming and having a good head on the shoulders to come that far.
Absolutely, and offering things potentially that other brothels can't offer. And there were these fantastic guides. There was one called, I think it was called Yokel's Preceptor, and it was basically a guide to the brothels and the women that were in the brothels of London. And they're just fascinating to read. And so I did sort of delve into those, and they're actually quite. I mean, it's not a nice subject, is it? And you feel sorry for the women that sort of worked in these places, and for some of them were locked in as well. Some of them were taken from the streets. There was one girl in particular that I mentioned, who was found. I think she was from France, and one of these sort of very sort of it's probably, I think he was a nobleman, had taken a fancy to her. I think she was the daughter of a farmer, and so this brothel had sent somebody out to go and get this girl and bring her back, and they imprisoned her and forced her into prostitution because this one noble chap had taken a fancy to her. And so there was just such a lot going on. So some of these girls were doing it just because it was, you earned more than you would in a match factory, and you didn't risk the sorts of horrible kind of injuries and things that could happen in that sort of work. And other girls were literally forced into it and were frightened and were locked in. And it's just history that blows your mind, all in that space of that one city, in that one time period.
Yeah, I can imagine. And have you found out during your research if those female criminals or people who try to survive on the streets conducted the business, let's call it a business, different than the men? Or was it quite similar how they behaved, how they acted towards associates or I don't know.
Yeah, I think particularly the women around the Southwark and Lambeth area were well known for being handy with their fists. There was a lot of sort of street life where women would be fighting, or women would be quite frightening people, really. And so I think there was almost an equality between men and women of that ilk, more so than I think between men and women of, say, the sort of middle classes and upper classes, in that the women were expected to still bring in money. The women were expected to, play their part. And if a woman was with a criminal man, she was expected to support him. And maybe, there were women that were involved in counterfeit coining, and they would be looking after the sort of the setup with the fire and the sort of crucibles and all the kind of instruments that made counterfeit coins. And so I think the women could definitely hold their own. But then, of course, you still had the whole, domestic violence kind of stuff that you would get in a community where there was a lot of drinking going on. There were, people were handy with their fists, whether you were male or female. So that it was a tough way of life.
Yeah, I can imagine. Absolutely, it's not all roses and violets, especially if you are part of the lower classes. I can imagine that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, very much. It was very much the same here in Austria, in Vienna. I mean, come to think of it, in the 19th century, up the beginning of the 20th, even people who worked in factories, we had this. I don't know if it's also true for Victorian London, but what we call Bettgeher in here in Vienna in Austria, which means you had one room in the building, and you rented out your bed.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. And they worked shifts in the factories. I mean, I don't know if that also was a thing in Victorian London, but that's what it was here, like here in Vienna. And therefore, this expression, Bettgeher, which means he or she comes and sleeps and then goes off to work.
Yeah, we had lodging houses, like thousands and thousands of people that just lived in what they were called lodging houses, and they were just rooms full of beds, and then you would rent the bed. And you'd probably get your stuff nicked while you were asleep as well, so people would keep their boots on while they were sleeping, and then they would be allowed to maybe use the kitchen before they left, and the next person came into the bed. So yeah, it was you know, the way that people lived back then. The mind boggles today. We have poverty today in Britain, of course we do, but it's not like
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, thank goodness. And may I ask, it's always a question when someone writes fiction, and especially historical fiction. It's always a
yeah.
question of research and how much of the research you will put into your book. And how much to leave out. Is this also a question, or was it also a question for you when you write nonfiction with your editor or your publisher? Say, it's a bit too much of detail. We don't need that.
Not really. I think I've got over the years of writing now, I think I've got a fairly goodish balance of what to put in where.
Mm.
And when I get into my non-fiction brain, I'm very non-fiction. And when I get into my fiction brain, I'm still quite non-fiction, but I know that I've got to put it across in a fictiony way. So I never, if there's a bit of sort of information that I need to leave out because of the story arc of the novel, I always have I always have an author's notes in the end anyway, and then anything that I think a reader should know is going to go into those, because as a reader myself, I want to know what's fact and what
Yeah.
isn't. So that's what I kind of do to get round that. And with the non-fiction, I found it quite easy to get into writing the non-fiction. I think I've got quite a sort of, because I suppose all the research that I do anyway, I have this desperate want to put the facts across to people. So I do a lot of talks about my books as well. And a lot of them are basically history talks rather than look at me, I'm an author and I wrote a book. It's more, this is my lady and this is her, this is what she did, and here's this is when she was born and this is where she lived, and it's that kind of thing. And I've loved doing those talks because I can share my ladies, and they're my obsession.
I think that's what a lot of historical fiction authors do, actually. And I've listened to quite a few of them, or quite a lot of them, to be honest. And I always find it fascinating the moment they start talking about the research. Not that I don't find the books fascinating. Also, especially no matter if it's fiction or non-fiction, but I find it fascinating what they tell us about the way, about the research, how they found out and how hard it was, and these little tidbits they didn't include in their books.
Yeah. I think when you write about a historical period, in order for it to be a believable book, you've got to have that depth of research behind you, haven't you? And you've got to be able to sort of delve into it. And I do think anybody who writes a book is living in that world that they've created, whether it's a sci-fi world or whether it's whatever people are writing about. You're there, and sometimes I'll be writing and I'll sort of look up and think, I haven't been in 2026 at all yet today. I've been back in 1850 or whatever, and maybe I should see what today's like. And I think that's the same with any writer. You just live that world.
Absolutely. And it's always not always, it's sometimes a question with fiction authors. But let me ask you, in your role as a non-fiction author, do you have a role model for writing non-fiction?
Oh, that's hard. I've read some fantastic non-fiction books. One book that really stood out to me recently, that I suppose has had a bit of an effect on me. I'm just Googling it now to make sure, because it's got a long title. It was about it's going to be Victorian, isn't it? It's about a Victorian serial killer, and I got very into this Victorian serial killer because of Mary Carr, and because this guy, not only was Jack the Ripper serial killing at the time of Mary Carr, there was another one, Dr. Thomas Neil Cream, his name was. And Dr. Thomas Neil Cream was found, obviously, because we know who he was. And there's a fantastic non-fiction book written about him. I think it was called, oh my gosh, I should know this now. You're going to need to do a bit of cutting here.
All good, all good. Now we keep it.
But I'm going to find the book. I'm just going to find the book. Gosh, where is it? I think it was called The Mysterious Case of Dr. Cream or something.
Okay.
Oh gosh, and I can't think. Oh, Dr. Thomas Neil Cream. What was it called? Oh my goodness, I can't find it. And it was just a fantastic book. Oh, I can't find it on here.
The Case of the Mysterious Dr. Cream?
Probably. Who was the author?
Yeah, The Hunt for a Victorian-era Serial Killer by Dean Job.
That's it. That's the one. Yes.
Okay.
That book. Absolutely fantastic book. And the way it's not written sort of chronologically. It's written a bit like I write fiction, so you pull in a little bit here and a little bit there as you go. It's almost like you're solving the case as you go along, and it was fabulously written. Now, I've not written a book in that way. So my Mary Carr book is fairly chronological, and my Criminal Women book is very different. However, that book really I would put up there as a fabulous non-fiction book.
It's on my list.
When it comes,
it's growing.
Yeah, I did a talk about it at the Wolverhampton Literary Festival back in February, and I did a talk because I was on a panel of two people spoke about Jack the Ripper, and I spoke about Dr. Thomas Neil Cream. And so for that talk, I read that book, and I read a couple of novels that have been written about him as well. And then I sort of put it all together into a talk about him and about how he's been portrayed through literature. That book is absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
That would be the one I would hold up there, yeah.
Yep, I will put it on my list. And what do you think of The Five by Haley Rubenhall? Because I read that book and it was so fantastic because it doesn't concentrate on Jack the Ripper. It concentrates on the victims and what she put in the book and how she sees the victims, and not at all as they were perceived back then as prostitutes. Maybe there's something else that.
Yeah. I think that whole putting across women's history and looking at women differently has to happen because for so many years, women that are in well-known historical situations that we know about, they've been portrayed in a very old-fashioned way, and the perception of those women it has been stuck in the past for so long. And so reigniting their history from a feminist point of view, and essentially that's what needs to happen, doesn't it? Because women have been so downtrodden for centuries, and sort of looking at them as equal human beings, as rather than these sort of caricatures of the five, taking them and sort of exploring them as women, and is really, really important, I think. So The Five's absolutely fantastic book.
A different point of view, and not just concentrating on the murderer, concentrate on the victim. Who were they? And it was I agree, it was a fascinating read.
Yes, I think that whole don't focus so much on the murderer and focus on the victims is a really ethical standpoint. I've done talks on ethics, and that is massively sort of ethical and right to do, because we shouldn't. There's so many people who are obsessed by Jack the Ripper and obsessed by that idea of Jack the Ripper. And essentially it's because he didn't get caught, because if he had been caught, he'd have been unmasked like in Scooby-Doo. We'd all know who he was. It's probably the janitor, and then he'd have been hanged like Dr. Thomas Neil Cream. However, because he's never caught, he's become this mystical figure. And actually you've got people who are so obsessed with him, and it's wrong to celebrate that kind of a person, isn't it? Or people. A lot of people don't believe it was actually one person either. There's all sort of a lot of different kind of viewpoints, isn't there? But to focus on the victims is absolutely the right thing to do, I think. Hugely.
Get them out of obscurity and make sure their story is told, and is told in the right way. Yeah,
absolutely. And without objectifying them as well, because I think was it From Hell, the film From Hell, which was about was it Mary Jane Kelly was in that one, and the portrayal of them just wasn't right. Too glamorous. to, sort of, it just, we've have to look at things in a much more modern perspective, I think, now for them to be acceptable to a thinking audience.
Mm. And from your standpoint, what would you say, since we all love, film and TV shows, what is the TV show which would you say portrayed Victorian England the best?
Oh, that is so hard. I mean, I'm a sucker for anything to do with Dickens. Charles Dickens for me, because he did write about the harshness and the nitty-gritty, and he'd lived the harshness and the nitty-gritty, when he was a boy and his father had sort of lost everything, and he'd had to go into poverty and then rise back out of it. So he had this unique perspective of being a literate man that had that experience, and his writing of the sort of tough lives of people, I think was really sort of important at that point. So I am a sucker for anything that's a sort of a good Dickens adaptation. The Crimson Petal and the White was fantastic. That there's a TV adaptation of that. The book was absolutely brilliant. That book is the book that started me writing, if I'm honest. That book kind of pushed me into writing, and there was an adaptation of that which I thought was very, very good. I think things are starting to kind of turn on a head, like with the Five, where we're seeing things from the victim's perspective. I think TV and film are starting to. I think there's a long way to go, but I think they're starting to be more sort of ethical and kind of more believable in their adaptations of things. So, yeah.
Let's hope so, because I love to watch those TV shows, especially the British ones.
Oh,
I don't know when the last time was that I watched something made or produced here in Germany or Austria. Can't say.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not enjoying those.
Don't do that. I don't do that. There was one question. Oh, yeah. Historical magazines. You write articles also for historical magazines. What about being also a guest on historical podcasts?
I mean, I've been on a historical podcast. It's not really. I suppose I've been I've had a lot published in a very short amount of time, and I suppose I've been focused a lot on author things more so than I've done a lot of history talks in person. But I suppose on the podcast front, I've mostly done sort of authory type ones. Historical. I mean, I'm very historically minded. It is something that I absolutely love. So I am sort of looking into other things as well. I've always got a few books ahead, sort of, and I'm so sort of interested in sort of aspects of history that maybe other people haven't explored in too much detail yet, maybe. Although I think the sort of working class and the sort of darker aspects of history are becoming much more popular recently. So yeah, I mean, I'm open to talking on any history podcast. I've talked on some lovely academic podcasts about adapting. There's a lovely podcast called Adaptation Today, which so I talked about adapting real people into fictional representations, and I do talk at conferences and things about Victorian literature and about the sort of portrayal of women in Victorian literature as well as talking about my own. So that I suppose I've kind of maxed out almost the last sort of year and a half. All these books have popped out, and then I'm writing all these other books, and then I've sort of started writing academic papers and talking at conferences and things, and it's been a crazy kind of ride, really, of lots of things that I'd never really done before. but it's just been fantastic. And the history is, I'm so passionate about the history, and I'm so sort of excited to share my ladies and things. So it's been, just a joy, really, that I hope to continue.
Yes, please do. Please, absolutely do, because we want to read more from you. Emma, it was such a pleasure to have you on the show. Is there anything else you would like our listeners to know?
I don't think so. It's just lovely to come back and lovely to talk to you again. And so thank you for having me. And I hope I haven't just waffled and just.
No, please waffle on.
I do waffle.
I love to listen to everything history. Please believe it. Absolutely loved it. Emma, again, thank you for doing this. Please wait for me in the green room. I will be with you shortly. Okay. Dear listeners, I do hope you enjoyed this episode as much as my guest and I did. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget you can also watch this episode on YouTube. And I do hope you will tune in for another episode. Until next time.